artists, we have been studying Trek Bicycle as well as the artist Leslie DeRose. And we're going to put those two things together today in a final work of art. So last week you created these 3 or 4 thumbnail sketches where you used a viewfinder to just draw one small part of a bike at a time. Today you're going to choose one of those thumbnail sketches that you think is most successful, thinking about the composition, how the shapes and lines are arranged, what looks most interesting to my eye, and you're going to draw it nice and big on a piece of paper. I'm going to draw this composition here where the wheel's in the bottom and I have that diagonal line of the bar going across. So I'm going to look at my thumbnail and draw it here large. I want to draw from edge to edge just like I did in this thumbnail, so I need to fill up the whole paper. So start on one part, whether it's the corner or the top, and start sketching. Sketching is drawing lightly until I get it right, and then I can draw it a little bit heavier and darker. Notice how I'm not leaving any edge. I'm just drawing as big as I can to fill up this whole paper. I don't want to leave any blank space. For some parts of your bike, it could be really helpful to use a ruler, especially these spokes on the tire. So those are like really nice straight lines. That can be kind of challenging to draw, so use a ruler to help you keep a straight edge. Once I have everything sketched out nicely, I'm going to take a Sharpie and I'm going to outline and fill in the bike. So it's called a silhouette. Silhouette is just one solid black shape. So I'm going to outline and then color this in solid. I have filled in the silhouette to my bike. I've colored the whole thing in black, especially those places that overlap, so it's just one solid shape. And I was careful to color in the same direction. Even with my marker, because it's black, I can see some of those directional lines. So just good craftsmanship is to color one direction. Now I'm going to be using oil pastels and kind of a special tool. We're going to be using baby oil and a Q-tip. So you're going to be thinking a little bit today about how colors mix or colors that work well next to each other on the color wheel. So purple and blue, they work well. They are next to each other on the color wheel. If I mix those colors together, it's going to turn out. If I mix color complements like purple and yellow, it's going to make brown. So we want to see a range of colors. So be careful and kind of think about your color wheel. How are colors going to react when I color them next to each other? So with an oil pastel, you're going to color in the background. And I would recommend changing colors a few times. It will give a kind of a cool rainbow effect in the background. And I'm thinking about how those colors are going to react when they're next to each other. Because when I use that baby oil, they're going to kind of mix a bit. So blue and purple, those colors are next to each other on the color wheel. They're going to mix well. I can color them next to each other. I need to color the whole background, not going over the bike so much, just the space in between with oil pastel. Now blue, when it touches yellow, it makes green. So I could have blue and yellow next to each other. Those two colors, when they mix that secondary color green, 2 primaries. So blue and yellow, they work well together. All right, I've colored my whole background in between the bike with some color or some oil pastel. And it's okay if they go over top of each other just a little bit, because that will just help your color mix. But after you have that whole background colored in, you're ready to take your baby oil and your Q-tip, and you're just going to dip that Q-tip in the baby oil, and you're going to use that liquid to blend and smooth out your colors. So it's important that I have that messy mat underneath my paper, A for the Sharpie and B for the baby oil. See how those colors kind of start to mix with the baby oil? When I kind of feel the baby oil getting scratchy, I can dip my Q-tip in again. But that Q-tip is kind of like a little sponge and it soaks up quite a bit, so I don't need to dip too often. I did that whole section. I can probably do a little bit down here too with just that first dip. All right, my colors aren't mixing so well. I can see that happening right here. So I'll dip again and keep rubbing. If you use too much baby oil, your paper will be super oily on the back. So that's a good way to check. Kind of maybe flip it over on the background and make sure that the color and the baby oil isn't soaking through in big puddles. All right, I'm gonna use that Q-tip and I'm gonna fill in the background, smooth it out with the baby oil. Once you've done that, it will look something like this. It will look all smooth across, kind of giving a cool rainbow effect. This can then go in the drying rack without your messy mat so it can dry nice and clean. I can't wait to see how your bike compositions turn out and your color mixing with oil pastel.